Hey, what's going on, guys? I want to give a big shout out to Ron over on the Autopia forums. He posted a thread recently that was wondering what would happen if we tried using Gyeon CanCoat as a drying aid or using it when the paint is still wet. Now, this is normally a product that you apply when the paint is fully prepped and when it's dry to the touch. But as you can see, this thing comes with the sprayer top on it. So I want to see how it does in the water performance test. I want to see if it's going to streak on me when we apply it wet. I want to see if it's still going to give me the same sort of hydrophobic behavior that CanCoat gives me when I apply it dry. This thing beads water. It's like polymer net shield, except slicker feeling to the touch. It's really good. Okay, so on the left half of the hood facing the car here, you can see it's still beading. What I have on that paint is Zymol Atlantique. It's probably 3 days old at this point. On the right half of the hood, I had Zymol Destiny. I just applied the Poor Boys World Strip Down wax remover product on the right half. So you can see it's going completely hydrophilic. There's no beading going on. So there's a couple different tests going on in this video. Number one is when we're using a drying aid, we usually already have a product down on the paint that we're maintaining. I want to see how CanCoat does on top of wax. I want to see how it does when there's water in between it. Is it going to mix with the bonding? Is it going to create a mess? And I want to see how it does once we've stripped the surface down. So that's the difference between the left side with wax and the right side without the wax on there. And as I'm spraying this, I can tell right away. I mean, there's overspray going pretty much everywhere. It's just not something you're going to be able to avoid. And something heavy, I mean, I consider Gyeon CanCoat a heavier type of product. The overspray is something that you're going to want to deal with as soon as you can. You can't let this stuff dry without being touched. It has to be wiped into the surface. Now, I'm just using a regular microfiber towel to wipe the paint down. I think if you use one of your good drying towels with CanCoat, it's so hydrophobic and durable that it's going to lose a lot of absorbency. The towel is going to lose a lot of absorbency down the road if you continue to use it like this. And going over the paint, I could feel how heavy CanCoat is. I mean, I'm getting a lot of resistance going back and forth as I work it into the surface. This is definitely something where I would want to come back and give it a final wipe down. The water is actually being absorbed into the towel really well on this first initial pass. So as a drying aid, it actually seems to be working decently. I can see there's a little bit of streakiness going on, but once I go back over it with the towel, it's going to get rid of all that. So what I'll do right now is I'll cut here, I'll finish drying it, and then show you guys with the light what's left behind after giving it a final wipe down. Right, so here's the shot with the Astro sunlight. It's wiped down really clean, guys. I can't see any sort of residuals left behind on the paint that are, distorting the image. It just looks really clean and crisp. So far, very unexpectedly, CanCoat has held up well after a wet application. As far as the looks goes, I don't see any crazy streaking left behind. Nothing that I could see. I mean, the paint just looks like it's glossy. So I'm going to cut to the water test. I'll show you guys the performance of CanCoat being applied to a wet surface. And not only that, but for going completely the cure period. Usually I think there's a 12 to 24 hour cure period that you don't want to get it wet before rinsing it. I'm rinsing it right away. So we're going to see the performance in the very short term. So the cool thing that this water test highlights here is right when I start to rinse the paint down with water, you can see it's not as impressive. And I've seen this before in some products. Sometimes I apply polymer net shield and I'll start to rinse the paint down and it's not as aggressive as I'm normally used to seeing. Continue to rinse the paint down or just give it a quick wash and you'll see the beading get better and better and the sheeting is going to get faster and faster. So when I continue to rinse, if I see an improvement in the water behavior, that's basically what I believe to be the residual oils being rinsed away, and we're now seeing the true water behavior of the product left behind on the surface. And both sides seem to be behaving very similarly to each other. Again, the left side was applied on top of Zymol Atlantique. The right side was stripped down. And you can see this, the sheeting rate here on this side is just really good too. So really good coverage. It's bonded cleanly too because there's no areas where the sheet is getting trapped and stuck now. We've rinsed away the residuals, so it's sheeting off at a very clean sheet. And I was not expecting anywhere near these kinds of results, guys. This is really good performance using CanCoat wet like this. I don't know if it's as aggressive. I don't think it's as aggressive as it would be if we applied it dry and if we let it sit for the recommended 12 to 24 hour cure period, but I mean, this is well above my expectations. And when you're using a drying aid, you're maintaining a product underneath. And that's the great thing about CanCoat itself is it's a really good topper for a lot of different products, especially coatings themselves too. And in the Gyeon lineup, CanCoat is still one of the most hydrophobic products that they make. It beats out Prime, it beats out Moe's, it beats out Gyeon 1. I haven't tested out Gyeon Pure yet, which is the updated version of Prime. And it's durable as well. I mean, the durability rating for CanCoat is between 6 to 12 months. I don't know how much of a hit of durability we would have applying it wet like this. That's something that I would have to test down the road. But let me show you guys a clip of CanCoat when it's at maximum performance after it's been fully cured. Okay, now in this clip here, I've applied Gyeon CanCoat to the right side of the paint. I've let it fully cure, so it's been given 24 hours to cure on the paint after buffing it off before this first initial rinse. On the left side, I have Gyeon Booster by itself. There's nothing underneath of either product, so I've prepped the paint with the finishing polish before applying them both to the surface. Booster is not designed to be used solo. It's designed to be used on top of a coating that's already been applied to the surface. And I was just curious to see what would happen in the short term if we just applied it by itself. But you can see, look at how good CanCoat is. I mean, it is. It's polymer net shield level, but giving you a slicker feeling paint surface. It's not the slickest paint surface, but it's at a much slicker surface compared to polymer net shield is. And this is just incredible. It does seem like this is a step up above the wet application method, so it does seem to be a little bit more hydrophobic compared to using it wet on the paint. Now the standard way to apply CanCoat is you spray it directly onto an applicator pad, one of the yellow foam pads, or you can spray it onto a microfiber suede coating towel and a coating block and go over it as you would a regular coating. I let it sit for about 30 seconds before removing it. Well, I don't think I've ever run into any application problems using CanCoat on the paints. I know some guys have. You definitely want to give it a good wipe down. But I'm going to close the video out here, guys. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Again, big shout out to Ron over on the Autopia forums for posting the thread up. I thought this test was a really cool one to play around with. If you guys do want to try it out using it wet, I recommend testing on a small test section first before trying it over the entire paint on your car, just in case you do run into problems. Let me know how it does for you guys. I'd love to hear your feedback.